Well, welcome everybody. This is our second episode of the Podcastaways. That was really loud.
That's 100% ruined the shot.
It did.
Crouch, bind, set.
Podcastaways episode 2. It's Tuesday. We're training. It's 95 degrees.
I'm actually taller than him. I'm 6'5". Welcome everybody. This is episode 2 of the Podcastaways. Obviously, our first episode was a wild success. A lot of people reaching out wanting to be part of it, and obviously loved it. So this week we are going to talk a little bit about our most recent game against Fort Wayne, Indiana, talk about the World Cup, and just a little bit of other stuff that's happened over the past 2 weeks since we didn't have an episode last week.
That was my fault.
Also my fault, but that's okay.
I was going to take the blame then. I went to LA.
That is true.
For 36 hours, which was not fun.
On the plane more than you were there, probably.
Yeah, I was.
Probably just about, yeah. Seems to be your luck with flights anyways.
Oh, never travel with me. It is the worst. Cool. Well, our game went really well. Both games went really well. We had a D4 game.
At the D4 game, Castaways versus Dayton. It's 3-0 right now. Some massive minutes from the old boys. Loving it. Reminds me of the Castaways when I first joined the team in 2021.
It's going well. Go on, Jordan.
Great kick.
Go on. Jordan's had some good kicks.
Hey, nice.
You look really short. On the whole, very good weekend. We won both games. Some good takeaways. I like the fact that we had a bunch of the old boys playing and putting in, I think a couple of people scored a try for the first time in a while, which was good. D3 game, Sam scored his first league try. I scored my first league try. Larry scored a great try.
Spencer scored a try as well, dummy, and just brought it over in a pig's play. So a lot of good stuff this weekend. But for me, other than obviously the wins, it was really nostalgic. I joined the team back in 2020, 2021. And so a lot of our D4 players were actually guys that were starters when I first joined the club. So that was really unique to see. So folks like Josh Barkers and a few others that had played and started at 10 or different position for years, basically since the club's founding, had played in that game. And some other old boys came from across the country for weddings. There's a lot of them that Saturday and the week before, but we had folks traveling from Maine, Washington, D.C., and the state of New York here to come play this weekend. So we had folks from all over that represented the club. But the D4 team beat Dayton 57-7, and we ended up beating D3 Fort Wayne 30-22, which big congratulations to them. Last season we beat them by a pretty large margin, and they're just steadily getting better. They're starting to get more and more young guys in, and are really growing into the league each year that they're there. So.
Yeah, I mean, standing on it, we stood there. Did you play in the D4 game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We stood there, we watched the D4 game. It was good to kind of see back to back, like seeing with the guys. Obviously, some people put in 80 minutes in the first game and then put on the other shirt and played D3 as well, which was impressive. Not quite as hot this week, which was pretty good.
Lovely.
Much better weather. I think some people are still nursing a week-long hangover from Rory's wedding. Cut to Rory's video of that.
Time to dance.
Don't you know, pump it up. Jesus, you got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up.
But yeah, great wedding. And then obviously Hank's wedding was on Saturday as well, which
I went to.
I think you crashed at the end. I did not. I was feeling very broken by the end of the Fort Wayne game.
I could barely walk the next day, so I get it.
But yeah, obviously we should wrap up round 1 of the World Cup. So apparently I was wrong about France, but we'll not interview Ollie about that one. He'll get very upset. But some other good games. I mean, Ireland, I know they only played Romania, but
they looked good as usual.
Scoring over 80 points.
Yeah.
Like, huge game. I think Wales and Fiji was an incredible game, and Fiji, I think, should
almost
have won
that in the last couple minutes there.
Fiji should have won that.
It was interesting seeing the England-Argentina game, because a lot of folks thought that Argentina would have had that game in the bag given England's performances, but George Ford just strapped everyone up on his back and carried them to the finish line.
It 3 drop goals in the first half, wasn't it, or something?
27 points all off the boot. No one scored a try. They never even looked like scoring a try, either, in my opinion, but they, that's a different way of playing rugby. Slowing them down, it reminds me of the old Springbok game from the late 2010s before the 2020s, before they got more involved and got the wingers up.
Yeah, I mean, not quite the same as the 2003 England team. Johnny Wilkinson scored a ton of points in that World Cup, but they did score tries.
Yeah.
But they had I think England had some good run in rugby. They just
Jason
didn't.
Robinson that was there.
Jason
2003
Robinson,
was
Josh
monster.
Lucy, Will Greenwood. Then obviously the forwards were insane. Like that was the best forwards pack England ever had. You were probably 2 years old?
4. But I didn't even know what rugby was.
Yeah, I remember watching it at home, being like wearing my England shirt, being like, "Come on!" And then now I've made a bit of a transition and not don't support England anymore. I want to see them win. You know, my mum's English and stuff, but I definitely have just been brought up supporting Ireland, watching Ireland play. So I definitely want to see them win, and don't want to jinx anything. But England, Ireland look like a good team this year. You can never count on Ireland to go all the way. I think they have 2 or 3 of the best, 2 or 3 of their best ever players. But I think, who knows? They only play Romania. You can't really, count against them. And obviously, Anne got scored on in the first minute, so that was a bit of a shock. But then Romania didn't score. I don't think they scored in the second half at all.
Maybe they had a penalty goal or something like that, but I don't think they had a.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it might have, but they obviously missed their kick, so it was 5-0, and then Ireland came back and just did it, and then it was 82-8 or something.
I think the biggest disappointment from this week's games had to have been Scotland versus South Africa. I love Finn Russell, and I thought that maybe they wouldn't win, but at least it would be a hard fought game, and they just never really quite got into it. Like they would start to build phases, and then it would just dissipate before it even really started. So that was kind of disappointing to watch. I really thought they labeled it that pool of death, and for Scotland to not really do as much with it, I was a little bit disappointed. They have some of the best players in the world.
I did think I always had that kind of hope in it, and that Scotland game was probably one of the only games over the weekend that I didn't get it ruined by seeing a score, and I didn't watch it live, but I watched it back at the end of it, and I don't know, up until 10 minutes to go, 9 minutes to go, I was like, they can still do this. And then suddenly when, I forget the winger's name, not Cheslin Colby, the other winger.
Aronza?
Yeah, when he scored that just out and out speeds to try on the far side, I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Scotland are done.
Manny Lubbock had the no-look cross kick, which was pretty sweet.
It was insane.
But that the kicking from the tee continues to be an issue. I think he missed all but one of his conversions. Not that it really mattered.
And then
leaving 8, 9, 10 points up there on the field is not great.
Yeah, so. And then I think Faf de Klerk coming on and kicking a Thomas Mitchell from the try line, from the conversion from the touchline. Yeah. It was good. I think there was some great rugby. I didn't watch the Japan game. Do you know what the score was?
Japan beat Chile by. Let me see. I'll pull that.
I love watching Japan.
They beat them 42-12.
That's convincing. I mean, Chile's first World Cup.
Yep. I think that pool in general though is one of the weaker ones because it has Japan, Argentina, England's in that pool. I think Chile, and then maybe it's Uruguay or something is also in that pool.
Uruguay, yeah.
So there's a chance that a few of them should be able to go over and maybe get a win in the pool stages. Not that I would suspect they would get out, but
yeah. So that was something I was going to talk around with you last week, and then obviously we didn't shoot anything. Was just around the world rankings, just going into the World Cup, and I know that the pools were set 18 months ago or 2 years ago. Really?
I think it's 3 years.
Wow, which is insane because
next year after something like that.
Super early, but then you end up with New Zealand and France
being in the same pool, Scotland,
Ireland, and South Africa, and maybe 3-4 years ago, those 3 teams wouldn't be in that high in the world rankings, but I have it somewhere. Bear with me, I'll find it. But I was just like, this is ridiculous that there's those teams are all here. It is. Oh no, this is the chance of each team winning the World Cup, which will have changed by now, but maybe I've got it open.
Yeah, I think England moved up a couple spots. Fiji moved back down a couple spots. I think Ireland retained their spot at number 1.
World rankings. It doesn't update to the end of the World Cup. So the world rankings, the Monday before the World Cup started, so last Monday, that's the world rankings for the World Cup.
Okay.
And then it doesn't. I don't think it goes on. I could be wrong about this. I've been wrong once before. But I think what it does is it works out total World Cup points and your World Cup finishes.
Okay.
It doesn't go because it's not necessarily fair because of the groups and things, and so you don't get a fair judgment of like Ireland playing Romania, for example. Well,
just a point.
They don't score a ton of points because Romania aren't that high, but then like Argentina, England beating Argentina, England will get a huge boost by beating a good team, and so it doesn't. Pool play is kind of negated through that. When you get to the quarters and stuff, it becomes a bit more fair because obviously it should be the better teams, or if a quote unquote lower level team does make it through, they will gain a ton of points. I don't know where I've got this. 30 best rugby players to watch. Oh, I know Farrell is 29th, your best friend.
He comes back, I think, this Saturday.
Well, yeah.
I think Ford's earned the 10 shirt, but it's a matter of are they going to put him at 12 or not, and then put Tuilagi back out at 13, or Lawrence out at 13 again and recreate the 2019 World Cup access. I don't know.
As much as I think that style of play, putting 2 fly halves on and only having 1 centre, albeit a guy who's just going to go and smash his way through, I think it's a bit limiting because I do think you lose an impact player on the bench. Yeah. You effectively force both of those guys to play 80 minutes, or you lose a bench spot and bring Marcus Smith on the bench to come on at 10. But then you lose some out-and-out pace in like Joe Marchant and stuff, or Elliot Daly, or any of our outside centres by shifting Manu out. I do think Manu can be a liability as much as Farrell can with those tackles.
He played flanker for like 60 minutes of the game. He's packing down as number 7 that game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing we should talk about the England game. Like Tom Curry came back,
3-game
fitness, and then straight out again.
I had a very interesting opinion of that. I noticed that there's a lot of those like standing up, absorbing tackles where players will do that, and there sometimes are head collisions. Obviously, it's not. I don't think there's any malice in what he did. What was he doing? Stupid? Absolutely, but sometimes. Like the best option is just to hug and go down, and sometimes there are head knocks in there. Now, obviously, I'm not condoning that. What he did does deserve a red card. There was head contact involved, but I feel like even when we get taught stuff at our level too, that like stand up absorbing tackle is taught. Like some of the forwards we go over that sometimes because the expectation sometimes is they're gonna just hit you and you've just got to go down with them by any means necessary. And I think that's something that it maybe needs to be looked at because those types of tackles happen all throughout the game, all the time. I mean, even in our level of gameplay, I see those all the time happen. Those tall seeing.
Well, yeah, but you assume that there's a level of professionalism, and the guys that these are professional athletes. We're turning up to play rugby for fun with a group of guys, and we haven't got. If we had that technique, if we had the elite level of technique, we wouldn't be playing D3 rugby.
Very true.
So you with their level of rugby should come with a little bit of more. I don't know what the word is, but like they should be expected to hit with better technique. I do think his was that yellow to a red was harsh when in the same game. Fly half Carreras,
Santiago Carreras,
did something that was probably on par or maybe only slightly less, but that was just a straight yellow and it didn't even really get reviewed. And so I don't think by the letter of the law that was fair. I don't think high tackles I don't think they're reviewed consistently, which is annoying because Owen Farrell in the game when the whole thing about that, when he got yellow carded, it got escalated to a red, then he was let off and then it was reinstated. That was a whole mess. George Ford's comment on social, which was fun, about getting away with it.
I don't know. I don't think the aerial battle can really be officiated well. I feel like every single time that someone comes down from those jumps, it like becomes a card in some way, or immediately becomes a penalty, and players know it. Obviously they should be aware of it and should be careful. Just let the person land, take that extra second to come through and hit them. But in some cases they're trying to catch the player so they don't fall over and hurt themselves, and heads hit, things like that. So like there's situations in the France game where obviously Will Jordan got sent off, and then another penalty happened against him because he like pushed or something like that, or got pushed by a France player, or a France player pushed him and it hit someone out of the air too. Another penalty again. That's not really his fault for being pushed if I'm recalling correctly. So how can you penalize that? Obviously the person fell over, but
there can be a penalty because that's a team penalty, right? Like you charge it on someone, but that you can't award a card for that. But a similar thing happened, not a similar thing, but like when the team is at fault, not necessarily just the player. Because like in our game, we had a number of seatbelt tackles or high tackles. Referee said to Ollie, next high tackle, it's a yellow card. He said it to both captains. We all went back. Jordan came on as a substitute. Obviously, wasn't on the field.
Hadn't heard that message.
Put in a high tackle, a seatbelt tackle.
Yeah.
Immediately yellow card it, and you can see on the video. I'll put it here, but it happens, and I just like drop because I was like, "What are we doing?" But Jordan went, "I didn't know that," and I'm like, and in my head I was going, "Well, yeah, he wasn't on the field when the referee gave us an instruction." But going back to the letter of the law, if you put a high tackle in, any high tackle,
you're at risk.
The referee can just decide, I want none of this. I don't want to leave this field with someone getting a head injury. So I'm just going to be really harsh on it. So unfair, maybe, but if you put in a high tackle, you can't expect to stay on the field.
I agree.
And it just so happened that Jordan put in a high tackle. It wasn't that bad a tackle, it was a seatbelt tackle. But it is what it is. And then for 10 minutes, we had players out of position. I think we played really well in that 10 minutes. Yeah, sorry to derail that, but yeah.
We'll go back and talk about the games because I still wanted to talk about that a little bit too. But
okay.
I don't think there was any last points I want to make about the World Cup before we move on.
I would like to talk about the standings in the World Cup at the moment, and then our fantasy team. I'll put the link. I won't. I don't know how to do it. He'll do it. Put the link in the description for our fantasy league. But we've done some. The only problem I would say with the app is that you cannot see each other's teams. So I'll try and work out how people got this many points or how people have cheated. I will say that I am not doing well in our. So I am. Out of 9 teams, I am 8th.
Nice.
I'm also 7th because I've got 2 teams in it. But like BB has won 438 points.
He admitted that he had DuPont. He said he had.
I found out how you can click their team.
Oh, there you go.
There is a button now. So he has
DuPont and
the
Chilean.
Oh, because round 2 has started. So he's got obviously DuPont as his captain, so he earned double points for DuPont.
I earned which is I know is
triple points for Johnny Sexton, but I didn't know you had a triple points button until after the game. So I would have been better. But I'll go through his. In fact, I'll just put his team up here and we'll talk about it. But like front row, Tag Furlong, Matavesi, and then is that Franz
Maherba?
Yeah. Scotty Barrett, and then he's got a
Thibaut Flamand.
And then who's that one?
Thibaut Flamand. Or is it no?
Uanidi.
That looks a Namibian player, maybe.
Namibian player. He's Chilean player, so he's got Escobar, which I think is a reference. He's got Aldrit. Obviously, he got man of the match, so he was going to score some points. But he's also got Josh Morgan, flank for Wales, who I don't know if you actually remember him having very good. Is it Jack?
He had a very good game. He had a couple turnovers and some big carries, but that seems to be the staple of this game anyway. Yeah,
and then I think where he's also made up a ton of points is he's got Damien Penaud, Tuapalatu, whatever. Yeah, for Scotland. He's got a Chilean centre, and then he's got Van der Merwe on the wing.
Angie Capuzzo, who scored a try.
Yeah, so he's got some good players in there. It's annoying that I can't see how many points.
I think I bet the biggest points probably was Talea or something.
Round 1, if I can do it. No, it still doesn't tell you the points. Coming in second by 3 points, Larry has made some catch up. So Larry here has got a decent team. I think he's also got a couple of players who haven't played yet, same as me. Yeah, he's got a Portugal player who hasn't played, and an Uruguay player who hasn't played yet. So neither of those teams have played, so he should make some games back. But he's got like Khaleesi, he's got Finley Beelum, who I don't think he came up. He didn't start.
He didn't start. He's a bench. I think he's
bench player. Finn Russell, he's got Bundy Aki, who scored a decent couple of tries. Cheslin Colby, who scored. For some reason, he's got
Semi Radara.
Yeah, I think it's good, but I think it's a mistake not having him as your captain. But solid team. Yeah, lag in. It's because he's got a lot of Argentinian players and a lot of British players. One Georgian, one. He's got I forget what his name is. Manu from Samoa. That's the second string fly half for 4 Wales, Costello.
Mm-hmm.
So he has clearly gone for a big pack because look at his
I
front,
don't think
his
Costello
front row.
even played.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he did.
I think Bigger, and then I don't know who replaced him.
Um,
Would it have been Gareth Anscombe? I don't recall off the
I
top of
don't
my
know.
head.
To be honest, I didn't watch the Wales game, all of it.
Definitely worth the watch.
Anyway, that will wrap up that. So I'll put the current standings on here, and then Bert, you owe Ben a beer because you're last, he's first. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'll put that in.
Alrighty. Do you want to jump back and talk about the games real quick, and then
Our games, D3?
Yeah,
yeah.
Just didn't talk about them too much. More of a celebration of the players, but
Yeah. This is it. We're at 21 minutes already.
I think we can just talk about this and wrap it up.
Cool. We need to work out an ending as well this week because
Yeah,
I just went, Jordan just wrapping up. You went, yeah, and then that was it. We need to do an outro. Go. Let's do the.
Well, for the D4 team, you and I were obviously watching on the sidelines, and we're almost photo bombed. But luckily, some fine editing got that taken care of. But it was a very open game. Typically tends to be the case with a lot of the D4 teams. It's usually a mix of veterans and younger players, and so there's a lot more running rugby rather than as much focus on the physicality. There's a lot more open play, and I think the scoreline reflects that. There was a lot of breaks through the gaps and the holes. Obviously, Dougie broke the line and knocked the ball in the try zone, and then broke the line again, and then decided he was too nervous to touch the ball down and ended up passing it to Josh, who ended up scoring the try. Which, shout out to Josh, by the way, it's his 21st year playing rugby, so he's played for a long time. One of the Castaways founders as well, so big celebration and big day for him. But that was fun to watch, and some of the old boys put in some big hits and some big moves as well. I thought Derek G, who I don't recall, I've never played with them. I don't know when he would have played with the team exactly, but he was a flanker and he carried pretty hard. And there's some good pictures of him, and some of his offloads are pretty sweet too. So I thought Marcus had a really good game, broke the line a lot.
Marcus played very well.
They did not want to tackle him at all. He was so much larger than anyone I think they even had. So that was good to watch, and it was just a good celebration of the team in general as well. I felt like emotions were high, people were really excited, and it was a lot of the older boys were really proud of it too, like Moeller, like Josh, and stuff like that, getting everyone involved from all over. So it was just a great celebration of the team and the sport in general, anyways. I thought.
Yeah, I think Paul Master Blaster had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Played 6-7.
Yeah.
I thought he was in for a try. He was. I think he was disappointed that he didn't score. He was like, I think, a meter shy. He told me he's coming to the next game with a bit of a fire under him. But yeah, solid performance. I think obviously Matty played with a busted up ankle and
stiff arm someone pretty bad.
Nearly killed someone. But I think that, solid play. Solid.
Who had a really good game was Jordan. Jordan had a really good kicking game, and he would just pin anytime that Dayton got the ball and would somehow end up in Jordan's hand. I mean, he would pin them back further and further and further back. It was consistently like he was kicking 50-22s or attempting 50-22s pretty consistently, and Dayton just could not get out of their own half for what felt like for forever. So that was also really great to see.
Yeah, I think. I mean, when we were watching it, Jordan had a good game. I think he'll be alright with us saying this, but like when he stuck to his game plan, knew what he was doing, and like had a goal, he executed it really well, which was really good. I think, and this is good. We're all guilty of this, especially even in the D3 game, when things go to shit. We go, oh no, what is happening? How do we play rugby? And then for the next couple of phases,
we catch ourselves back up.
Yeah, and then that's when, and this happened a few times, like tempers flare, people are annoyed with the situation, and so the easiest thing to do is just point fingers, which I really hate, and Rory. But
I don't know what that's about.
But like, no, I do think that when we let the rugby get ahead of us and we don't play what's in front of us, then we struggle a little bit. And I think that comes with experience, but I think it always comes with a little bit of trusting in those of you who, and it's difficult when we haven't played that many games together, some of us. I think we were out and out the better team. I think the scoreline doesn't do us justice in the D3 game. I think we should have won that by, what was the final score?
30-22.
Yeah.
That kind of goes off my main issue with what happened on Saturday was if you go back through and we'll have Ollie talk about his stat sheets. I mean, we were in double digits of penalties and they only committed 4. It felt like every other play, we would drop the ball, knock it on. We were, obviously the high tackling was a consistent issue that was happening throughout the game. So, that was a really big problem. I mean, if you watch the game footage, it felt like every minute and a half there was a penalty and we were being marched back 10 meters. It felt we never got to build consistency and build up phases because inevitably something bad would happen. And so that's something that we need to look at moving forward is, discipline around, I think the breakdown was a little bit of an issue. Obviously the high tackling was an issue. But other than, obviously our set piece was really good. We only had one line out that got stolen. We won all of our scrums and stole a scrum.
Yeah, we that was sweet. Good.
And so that was really neat to see. And when things were fully firing and the ball was getting to hands, we had some amazing tries, like Larry's try, who was put away in the corner, and it was a wonderful backs move. So things like that, when we can get our heads on straight and keep that discipline, it pays off, and we're going to be the best team on that day. We just need to get from that being the rarity to that being consistent every single time that we touch the ball. And I don't know how we get there, but we got to get there.
I think we get there. I think it's just game minutes. Like there's a couple of people inevitably always going to be playing out of position and stuff. I think we're all in our comfort zone when we're playing the position we want to play, but then as soon as someone comes on and doesn't play in their position, there's a little bit of a, what do I do now? Man of the match, we should talk about Blaze, was
Mr. Everywhere.
Amazing. He every time I got the ball and I looked up for a little pop pass or something, he just happened to be there. He put in some huge tackles. He made some great runs. What's obvious to us that we thought he was a great player was obvious to the other team. Like they had to just put up with him, which is great. He was great. He played in the center with me at the end. So when dropped from the back row, and that always happens with injuries, and obviously only having a 23-man squad and stuff. But it's good to recognize him because he had a great game. He always does. I think other out and out performances. Sam was solid on the wing. He's a lot quicker than I thought he was. So his try was just out and out pace around the outside.
Yeah!
And like you mentioned, when Larry's try.
Go forwards, go help, go help. Get there. Look at that ready call. All right, who you got?
Nice fucking rugby. That's fucking rugby right there. Holy shit. That actually
was usually it's Larry just pace try, but he just ran a great line and just made it through them rather than around the outside.
I thought Ollie had a really good game off the boot. Obviously, he only missed, I think, one conversion, but also the exit plays were something that we really focused a lot on from the last game to this one. I mean, he found touch every single time that he put the boot to ball. Maybe there's one or two exceptions to that, but
yeah, Ollie! Yeah, boy! Good kick!
I felt very secure with that. It was always nice to get up out of the base of a ruck or having made a tackle and getting up and seeing the ball being launched and actually getting out of bounds. That made a huge difference for us territory-wise. So I did appreciate that. But really, I think the big thing for us going into Toledo is going to be that discipline and getting that all sorted out, because that's where we lost more meters probably than their carries got us, was probably their 13 was a monster though. He was hard to bring down. He was fast, and he just knew what he was good at and stuck to his guns, which was just running hard lines. And he broke the line a couple of times. So
I don't know if he went through me, maybe once. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a great game. It's always good to win. Definitely come away, even if it's a hard game like that was. Win it, the big W on the scorecard at the end is always a bit better than especially the last game. But onwards and upwards. I think there's definitely always some stuff to work on, and Ollie will take us through kind of the stats and stuff, and point some stuff out. But I think one thing we worked on last week after the Detroit game was exits, making sure we weren't pinned back in our own try line or our own 22 a lot. And I think the effort the guys put in, although it was maybe tedious at training, just doing it over and over and over again. It definitely did help because we didn't get turned over in our own 22. When we did win the ball, we were out. We got out of it. I think
we worked really hard on making that extra pass among the forwards, and that was obviously very fruitful. I mean, I got lucky. I ran a line on an overs and broke through the gap.
Don't
we had a
say
couple
overs. No, just in case you're watching, don't.
Anyways, I'll think they don't know what that means. But there was times that we were able to key in and make that extra pass and gain a whole lot of meters through it. There was a couple people that had some great line breaks and some offloads, or I think the forwards had a really good game. This game, getting more involved with the backs play as well. There's a couple of times where I got the ball and I know I helped swing it out wide and things like that we didn't really do as much against Detroit. That I think that's something that we may want to continue to bring forward into the rest of the season. So
yeah, definitely positives. There's always going to be stuff to work on, but I think we had a great game, and I think everyone enjoyed themselves. And hopefully you guys had a great time at Hank's wedding.
We did. Got to see him dance. There was 2 older gentlemen that were dancing, and I try to get you the video of that so you can put that up here. It's pretty funny. It was really good to see everybody all dressed up. It's definitely a culture shock. Some people that I'm accustomed to seeing in short shorts and tank tops and stuff like that, wearing full suits and ties. It's a little bit odd at first, but
I'm wearing a tie.
You didn't wear a tie last wedding.
It doesn't fit around my neck yet.
Okay.
Cool. Should we wrap this up then?
I think so.
Cool. Rhodes Park, 6:00 Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll have a few beers. We should say that.
That's true. That is true. We're going to a new bar from now on Thursdays called Woodlands Tavern, and on game days we're going to a bar called Woodlands Backyard, which has pool tables. It has big volleyball courts in the back, a lot more TVs and stuff like that as well in it.
Bye, everyone. Bye.